5, 4, 3, 2, 1, action. Stagga.
What's up?
Yeah. Welcome to the 20th Avenue Podcast, bro.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. It's been a long time coming. We've been wanting to have you as one of our interviews on this episode, on this podcast actually.
No, big up. Thank you for having me, Dooms.
Yeah. So let's start from the beginning. Who's Stagga? For the benefit special of those my 2000.
I was born Ralph Williams.
Yeah.
Born in London.
Uh-huh.
Stagga is obviously the nickname that people came to know me by. But that kind of came like a bit later. But yeah, I was born to a mom from Botswana and a dad from Jamaica. I was born in London.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's my beginning anyway.
That's your beginning?
Yeah.
So how does the name Stagga come about?
Okay, my original nickname was Sticks.
Okay.
Because of Sipo.
Uh-huh.
So when I landed in Botswana, because my middle name is Sipo.
Mm-hmm.
My full name is Ralph John Sipo Williams.
Okay.
So when I landed in Botswana, the first thing they said was, they kept calling me Sipo Hot Sticks, my boots. I was like, who is that? And I heard all the tracks, Burn Out, all that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like mid-80s.
Yeah.
When I came to Botswana. And yeah, that was like my nickname. So it was just shortened from Hot Sticks to Sticks.
Okay.
And Sticks just stuck because I was skinny.
Okay.
But I'm still skinny. So it just stuck and everybody just called me Sticks. And then around the time of let's say around Shabba Ranks times,
Mm-hmm.
91, 92, 93, around there, I was at school with Loose Boy.
Okay.
And that's before he was called Loose Boy, he was just called Ziggy or T-Ski.
Mm-hmm.
So he actually gave me the name Stagga.
Okay.
And it came from, they used to clown and say, yeah, your dad's probably got dreads down to his down his back, he probably smokes weed, blah 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 blah. Like Shabba, and it was around the time when Shabba was popular. Mm-hmm. So Sticks just became Stagga Rugged, and then Stagga it just stayed at Stagga.
All right. So you're an entrepreneur, if I can put it that way.
Yes.
Most people know you as a rapper.
I know, it's crazy. You do one album and you get typecast forever.
So how does the music thing start?
Okay, so when I came to this country, I'd say the two people who I was closest to was a guy called Brooks Ferguson.
Okay.
He was a cousin of the late Shona.
Uh-huh.
And Bissau. So
still your best friend?
Yeah, these are people that, they're family friends.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, my mom and Brooks' mom were at school together.
Okay.
And then Bissau's dad and my family, my family's from Lobatse in Botswana.
Okay.
They grew up together. So the link it's like a family link. So I known these guys from when I was 0.
Okay.
So Rooks was they're both older than me. But Rooks is the guy who, he had the fly sneakers, he had the hip hop tapes, the Run DMC, the Houdini, he had the posters on his wall. He was into hip hop. And this was at a time when the word my kid and my cheeky didn't even exist. There was nobody really into that,
Yeah.
So we're talking 80s, mid 80s, late 80s. Mm-hmm. So he's probably him and my dad actually, because my dad was a DJ, but him and my dad were probably, in terms of music, I was listening to the music that kind of they introduced me to.
Okay.
So he introduced me to a lot of different stuff. This is Rooks.
All right.
So, him, like I said, him and Bissau were the people I've known the longest. Mm-hmm. So Bissau was the person who, this is fast forward maybe to when I was about 20. He used to say to me, why don't you rap? Okay. And I'd be like, because I don't. You know what I mean? I think I wrote one rap when I was 16. I had one rap, for years, just one verse. And he kept saying, I know you can rap, I know you can rap. And I was like, why? Why you keep saying that? Because, when you listen to rap music,
yeah,
and you're rapping along. I used to do that.
Uh-huh.
And I used to rap along. And sometimes, for example, even the name Stagga Dan Dada, it comes from a Biggie lyric.
Oh.
Only You.
Yeah.
The 112 remix. Mm-hmm. At the end of that verse, that Jesus, the Notorious Just verse, at the end, he says, Escada Dan Dada, players stay splurging. So I used to always put Stagga in there. Because even with Big Papa, I used to say Big Stagga. So I put my name where it fit. So when he did that remix, that Escada Dan Dada, it sounds like Stagga Dan Dada. Uh-huh. So we just said it. It was like a joke at first, and then it stuck. So that's where that came from. But I used to do that, but I never used to I didn't freestyle, I didn't write raps. But he was like, no, you've got like the voice for rapping. You would be a good rapper.
Yeah.
So he used to go on and on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
And then one time, because I was at uni in England, he was at uni here. So this is again, late 90s. So Bissau, this is before he started his car wash, and he had like a mobile car wash.
Yeah.
So what he did one summer, we didn't break in, but we took the keys to Uncle Pax's office.
Yeah.
And he literally it was somewhere in the UK, so it was like July, August here.
Yeah.
The whole holiday, I was here for like 4 weeks. Every single day he would call. I don't even know how he got the number, but he would call Death Row.
Death Row.
Yeah.
Suge Knight.
Suge Knight. So this is Suge was in jail, but Suge's wife, Sharitha, she was running the label. So every single day this boy would call. I don't even know how he got the number, because this is like pre-Google.
Yeah.
And they hung up the phone, And then he kept saying, it's Bissau. And then one day he called and she's like, is that Bissau? And then he was like, yeah. And he said, okay, let me put you through. So we finally got through to somebody. So Bissau, being Bissau, he's like, yeah. His angle was, he kept saying he was using the Mandela name, we're calling from Nelson Mandela office or something. He's used something to do with Mandela, because he's like, look, these are Americans. They don't know where Botswana is. They know Mandela, they know South Africa. We're using the Mandela angle. And it did kind of work, because that got us into speaking to people. So we ended up talking to this guy called Roy Tesfaye, who was I think he was a publicist or he was something at Death Row. So he pitched in this idea, and it was called Ties with My People. Yeah. And he had written a document, and it was basically about cultural exchange between artists in Africa and artists in America. Yeah. And we said, look, this will be the bridge between the continent and the diaspora. Because, I mean, for me, as a person who's part Jamaican, I understood that, because there's a disconnect between black people who are outside of Africa and the ones who are there. A lot of them don't know anything about Africa, apart from what white people has told them. And a lot of what white people told them was lies. So this is why a lot of people are ashamed of it, or they don't want to be, well, back then, no one was embracing being African. It was not considered cool, This is before Afrobeat and piano was taking over things. Wow. But they were like, yeah, this sounds dope. Come to LA. And we were like, we don't have no money. You know what I mean? So that was the end of that. But this was for a whole, maybe 4 weeks. He's determined. He's probably one of the most determined people I've ever met. When he wants to do something, he will do it. And he'll find a way. So he kept saying to me, so this is I was maybe 21, 22. And he kept saying to me, listen, I know you'll be a great rapper. You'll be dope. And I was like, why do you keep saying that? He said, because I know. and then, so I finished university. I got married. Got married when I was 24. Wow. And so when I started the music, I was married. I had a son. And I left uni. There's a part I'm missing out, but we'll revisit that. Okay. So I left uni. During uni I was DJing, but I actually dropped out for a year, thinking I was going to become a superstar because I got a good job DJing, and it lasted 6 months, and then I had to go back to uni, finish my degree. So anyway, finished my degree. I'm in Atlanta. So this is 2001, and Bissau calls me one day, and he's like, "Yo, I've done it." I'm like, "What have you done?" He was at. I still remember he was at Cafe Quest in the main mall. Yeah. What used to be Cafe Quest. And then he said, I've done it. I was like, what have you done? He's like, I've done it. We've got it. I was like, what have we got? He's like, we've got the money. I was like, what money? He's like, we've got the money to do this. I was like, to do what? He's like, look, I've started this company, Haruna Communications. It's on. This is it. This is real dough. I'm like, he's like, we can do this now. I was like, do what? He's like, we can do the music thing. I'm like, what music thing? He's like, I told you, got to release an album. And I was like, all right, okay. If you're serious, I'll come. Because at the time I was in Atlanta, I was looking for a job and I was interning. So I wasn't getting paid. So I was like, and he's like, what are you doing there anyway? You're probably changing diapers. And I had the phone in my ear and I was fucking changing my son's diaper. And I was like, this fucking bastard. Anyway, I was like, listen, you know what? He's like, I'm gonna buy you a ticket. I'm like, nah, if you're serious, I'll buy the ticket tomorrow. So this is maybe a week before Christmas, 2001. So I bought the ticket. I landed at the airport. So when I left, we were we had cars, but not cars that we bought. It was hand-me-down cars from home. You know what I mean? So I left and we was like, you know, Hiluxes and Cressidas. He pulled up in a brand new M3, like fresh O2. It was an O2 M3 and O1.
Wow.
I was like, okay, because it was like the end of the year. I was like, okay, so there is some money. Jump in the car, and he's like, all right. He takes me to the offices, and then when I saw, like, I was like, okay, this is big, because this was like he had like the first big Mascom deal.
Wow.
So if you bought airtime in Botswana between 2001 and 2006, you bought it from us.
Okay.
Like every single Mascom 10, 20, 60. They didn't even have Mascom 10s. He's the one who told them you need to bring in the 10s. And yeah, the money was crazy. It was like big dough.
How much did you guys make roughly?
Like a lot of money. Like a lot of money. I crashed. Check this out. So I landed December 2001. I started working for Harlem Communications January 2002. I bought my first CI April 2002.
Okay.
So within 90 days, I'd gone from being a pedestrian to having a brand new BM coupe. And I crashed that car 4 weeks later with like maybe 50K in cash in the boot.
Oh.
Yeah, like we used to roll around heavy. Okay, not to flex, but like, because I was doing airtime. So I was buying like 20 grand, between 10 and 20 grand a day in airtime, and then I was making like 17% profit on that. So you do the maths.
Yeah.
If you're rolling like 50 to 100 grand worth of airtime every week, and you're making 18% profit, you're clearing good money. And I had public phones in the street.
Okay.
The phones were bringing in like between 5 and 10. The airtime was bringing in. It was just money everywhere. Like you'd open the cabbie hole, there'd be money. Like there was just plenty of dough. And I think that's the fastest amount of money that I've seen. Well, legally. You know what I mean? And like the money was moving fast. And I tell you one thing. Bissau could have taken that deal. It was a 5 million deal worth of airtime, and you know, also there were like about 100 public phones. So yeah, that was actually my job. I was the assistant manager to the public phones, who happened to be Jack Cardolas, aka UK Jack at the time. So this is before he started Phones for You. And I mean, there'd be days when we'd go to Mascom with like 80,000, 100,000 to put it into because we'd have to load up all the public. I don't know if you remember those public phones.
Yeah, I remember them.
Yeah,
the ones that were by the bus rank, bus stops.
Yeah. So those phones, if you had one, you bought the phone for 5,000. Okay.
Yeah.
It was like 4.5, and then you load like 1,000. I think if I'm correct, 1,000 Bula airtime cost 700. So that extra was your profit. Or it was actually a bit less than that. So they made good money because people used them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I was the first person to put phones by UB Southgate.
Okay.
I was the first person to put phones and airtime in phase 2. Because I was targeting tuck shops.
Okay.
You know? And like, literally everybody in the country was buying from Haruna or IBS. IBS was Eating, Haruna was Bissau. So Eating had the Vista, which became Orange deal.
Yeah.
We had the Mascom deal. So we covered all bases. Like when I was I used to roll around with airtime, like maybe 20 grams worth of airtime at all times. There'd be at least 20 grams worth of airtime in my car, and I would sell it to everybody. Like I'd go to Yaron FM, I'd make everybody buy it, from the security guard to all of them, Robbie Rob, Loose Boy, even Percy.
Yeah.
Even people who had contract, I'd be like, look, you know someone who's got prepaid, so buy some shit from me. And I think people were embarrassed. I wasn't embarrassed. I'm like, you embarrassed to make money? nigga, this is cash. Like I literally used to roll around with airtime, and then anywhere I was, sometimes I go to them, what's it called? Sprite rap activities.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even go there to rap. I'd go there to sell airtime and make all them niggas buy my airtime.
Wow.
So that's what I used to do, like heavy. And that's kind of like what we were doing, and that's where the money came from. But the money was crazy. Like every 2 weeks, there was a new car either being bought or crashed.
Eish.
Yeah, but like literally millions. I mean, I've seen them in the office count, like, you know, 500,000, 250,000. Like
that was 2002.
Yeah, when that you could buy houses with 500,000.
Yeah.
And you know, you could buy a nice place with 500,000 or even 250. Bro, like a full tank back then was like $120. Full tank in a Beamer.
And now it's $1,000.
There you go.
Yeah.
So it was like the money was coming in heavy, and like what I was gonna say was that he could have taken that deal and just kept it and just balled on his own, but he didn't. He put on the whole crew because there was like 10 of us. It was me. Okay, he put me on with the album. He put Loose Boy on in terms of when Loose Boy was at Yarona, all the advertising Bissau was getting it. Like he put Fish on, he put a lot of the team on, Manamezi, everybody. And he said, come, let's all eat. Because he always used to say, we need interdependence, not dependence. There's no point in me being the only one with a nice car and the only one with money, because you're all gonna be surrounding me and be like, yo, get me a drink, let me ride in your car, in the passenger seat. He said, we all need to be balling so that, and it looks better when you see 4 guys pull up in 4 whips instead of 4 6-foot tall Negroes in a little car with their knees up to their chin. It just looks stupid. Yeah. So that's how we rolled, and that's what he preached. He preached that every day. Okay. That we need to roll together as a unit. Everybody must be strong, not just one man.
Shout out to Bissau.
Big shouts.
Yeah. So now you're making money, and this is where the recording starts.
Yeah. It's funny because. So anyway, he picks me up. So this is 2001. So before I actually started working. Yeah. Or was it before? It was during the time when I was working. And then he took me to Joburg. Yeah. So I met Goofy and Zwei. Yeah. So he was like, these are the guys who are going to do your album. And I knew Zwei.
Zwei Bada.
Yeah.
TKZEE.
Obviously, everybody knows TKZEE. Yeah. I did not know Goofy. So it's funny because I think I probably saw one of his songs on TV and I just didn't know the guy. And he was like, I remember when he met me, he's like, what do you mean you don't know me? I'm like, I don't know who you are. He thought I was like trying to be funny. You know what I mean? I literally didn't know the man. But like, we go there, these dudes, man, they came in wasted. Like we'd been there for like 3 days waiting for them. And they made us wait in Joburg for like 3 whole days. They rock up. He's like, okay, rap. Yeah. So I literally had just one verse. So I did the verse. He was like, hey, that's actually pretty good. Yeah. Have you got more? I said, yeah. I didn't even have nothing. And then he goes, okay, cool. I think, we can do something. So then Bissau was like, they charged him like 40K.
40K for the whole album?
No, for a demo.
Wow.
So they charged 40,000 rand. They overcharged because they heard that, these niggas have got it like that. Just overcharged them, yeah. And we pulled up to Joburg in a convoy of Beamers, briefcases, cash. It was like something out of a movie. And, they were, popped the briefcase and they was like, oh, okay, so you guys are serious. They took the money. We didn't see them for a week. And I was supposed to record with them. He's like, okay, I'm gonna leave you here. I was supposed to record with these Negroes. Did not see them for literally almost a whole week. They went and they balled, and they came back and they were like, okay, let's get busy. But Goofy's probably one of the closest friends I have in the industry. Like he was like a mentor. Okay. And Zwei. Like the way that I had never been in a studio in my life. I remember when we tried to record the first day and he was like, just do it like how you did it at the studio. I mean, at my house, because he had like a home studio. And he's like, why are you struggling? I was like, bro, I've never held a mic, man, in the studio. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, nah. I mean, I can write, but I've never rapped. So I didn't know anything about birth control or, projecting your voice. I had never really rapped in front of anybody. Like I didn't, like some rappers, they spend years doing freestyle. I didn't do none of that. I never went to one single battle. I wasn't rapping at school at lunchtime. I just wasn't that guy. I used to listen to hip hop heavy, but I just never wrote because I just didn't want to be a rapper. So I literally had to learn on the job. So even if you listen to that EP, there's a song that I featured TK. The late TK, yeah. So on that song, it's called Too Hot. The verse that I spit on that is the verse that I spit for Zwei and Goofy. That was actually on my demo. That was the only rap I had. So if you listen to that and then you listen to maybe any of the other songs, you can hear that the flow is different. Yeah. Because I didn't really know how to flow. And Goofy helped me with that. He was like, okay. He was like, like a director? He was like, okay, you can use your voice like this and do this and do that and then da. And then when he kind of gave me the pointers, I was like, okay, this is actually quite. Then I started learning how to freestyle and all that type of stuff. But all that came after. Like I didn't do it before and then record the album. Like I did most because there was a period like when we gave them the dough. This was like March of 2002. When I went back to actually record the album, it was September of 2002. So in that period, I crashed a car in that period. Like a lot happened in that period. So in that period, you could say I kind of perfected the craft because I did three songs on a demo, which we didn't put on the album, and then the only one we kept is the one that we featured TK on. So by the time I came to writing the album, like for example, Roll With Me, I did that in 45 minutes. So like recorded it, did the whole thing. It was just like then I could then do one take verses. So it's like okay, March. It's about maybe 4 or 5 months.
Okay.
So I kind of like practiced a little bit. Like I was like practicing. So when it came time to doing the album, we did it in I think it was like maybe 5 or 7 days.
Okay, the whole album.
Okay. I actually recorded 12 songs, and we only included 6 on the EP, but there are 12 on the original master. And I was recording them at the same time. So I was recording like the first verse of Don't Fuck With Us at the same time as there's like, you know, the hook on Roll With Me. So there are 2 studios in Creative Kingdom Studios in Santa City. Okay. Like in the mall, Twin Towers. So the studio was up there. Okay. So it's like, the dope studios like where Malika recorded their stuff and a lot of big albums have been recorded there. And yeah, it was good, like, because it was 2 rooms and I was literally just hopping from one room to the other. Yeah. And we did it it took about a week. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So how does the recording of It Gets Crazy When You Party come about? Because that was a hit. It laid the foundation of Southern African hip hop.
Hated that song. I'll tell you some facts about that song. That song was the first hip hop song to get played on many stations in South Africa, including Kwekwezi, Mhlombo Enene, Gwala Gwala, 5 even. It's probably the first hip hop song that was in heavy rotation in South Africa.
Yeah, even in Zim.
You see, it played a lot. Yeah. That song really, okay, look. Again, I have to thank Bissau, man, because he was like, yo, the beats for the album are dope. Because I sent them a CD with the beats. I said, these are the beats I'm going to use. He said, yeah, these beats are dope. And then he goes, what about the other beat? How come you haven't said anything about the other beat? I said, you mean that Will Smith shit? And he goes, yeah, that Will Smith shit. I said, I'm not recording over that fucking beat. And they were like, nah, this shit is banging. I'm like, that's because you like Will Smith. And I have nothing against Will Smith. I'm a big Will Smith fan. But I didn't want to sound like the fucking African Will Smith. So I said, no, that beat we're going to have to skip. And he's like, yo, I played it for some chicks and they were like, yo, this is banging and it doesn't even have music on it. And it didn't even sound like how it sounds now. It was just the sample. But I hated that shit. I thought it was the corniest shit I'd ever heard. Yeah. And I was like, these guys have given me some dope beats, but this one is whack. So it's like, I was like, they kept saying, when are you going to record? I'm like, and I could tell that these niggas are really pushing for me to record over this track. Yeah. So I kept saying, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, I'll do it. And I was like, I'm never doing this song. So finally they were like, look, we need to talk. So this is like, so my manager at the time was a guy called Sipho Dlamini. He was also the let's say the president of Creative Kingdom. Okay. He's now head of Universal Africa.
I once met the guy in Durban.
Yeah. Holmes. We used to call, I still call him Holmes. So Holmes was my manager. Malcolm X was my publicist. Yeah. And you know, he's a colorful character, as my nigga X. So they were like, yo, and Bissau, they sat me down. They're like, yo, you need to record that song. I'm like, which song? Pretending like I didn't know which song they meant. They're like, the Kool and the Gang sample. I said, no, we're not doing it. They said, bro, listen, this is the song, you know, that's the one. They're like, no, Roll With Me is the track. They were like, nope, It Gets Crazy. I'm like, it didn't even have a name. We used to call it by the name of the sample. Or just Kool and the Gang. I'm like, I'm not doing Kool and the fucking Gang. Okay. And eventually, the last night of recording, Bissau came to the studio with a bottle of Jack, a bottle of Jack and, how can I put it, party shit. And, you know, big bag of weed, fucking Jack Daniels, Yeah, and girls.
Yeah.
And like, there was a whole bunch of us in the studio. Just girls for ambience, just like to create like the vibe. So he was like, look, we're gonna record that shit. I was like, you know what? Let's do it. And this was my plan. I said, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna make this shit so fucking lame that no one's gonna like it.
Yeah.
And it won't work. So I deliberately tried to sabotage it. So I said, I'm gonna make it very simple, rhyming couplets, and just talk about getting drunk and just dumb shit. And that's what people wanted to hear. So if you listen on headphones, after the first hook where I said call the cops and the party won't stop till 6 o'clock, they had to fade it out because I kept laughing every time I said it because I thought it was the corniest shit ever. And I couldn't believe I was getting away because I said it and they were like, yeah, that's dope. I was like, these niggas are so dumb. They think that shit is dope. That's the corniest line. I tried to make it corny. So I thought, what could be cornier than this? Call the cops, party don't stop till 6 o'clock. I said, yes, that's super corny. I wrote it down. And they were like, yeah, that shit's dope. And I was laughing so much that they had to, you can hear it on the first one, like, I'm actually laughing. Because I just thought, this is ridiculous. Fucking recorded the song. We took Roll With Me to radio. Fresh actually played Roll With Me on radio first. And, because remember, we recorded this shit 2002.
Yeah.
It was actually released June of 2003.
Okay.
June the 3rd. And it's kind of fresh because we gave Fresh the demo December of 2002. And he was like, this shit is hot. Why aren't you putting it out this year? That's another story.
Yeah.
Bissau skipped the date of, like, we were supposed to deliver CDs to CDT by October. Because we had the stuff recorded by October.
Okay.
But he forgot. And then, he printed promos, they got leaked. It got bootlegged heavily during the festive season of 2002. And wait, hold on 1 second. I've just lost my train of thought. I was telling you about the bootlegging, but I was saying, what was your question?
The question we're talking.
What was I saying just before? Because I was going.
You're talking about Fresh playing the track.
Yes.
That's
what I was trying to tell you. So because he missed the date of us, giving it to CDT, we couldn't release it. So Fresh had it for like 6 months, and he's like, "Dog, I'm gonna play this shit. You guys better release this shit." Because he was at YFM, and we were at high school together. Me, Bissau, and Fresh. Okay. Because we were at MAP, and he said, "Look, if you guys don't get your shit together, I'm gonna play. This shit is hot. I'm gonna play it." Yeah. So Fresh started playing Roll With Me. Yeah. And that kind of, I tell you, when that happened, my phone it just didn't stop. Like, I got gigs from the very first day. They were like, yo, I said, I told you guys, Roll With Me is the song. This is what we need to shoot a video for. Because Goofy produced that. Like, just on his own. And I that's my favorite song. But like, yeah, then they were like, yo, you know what? They're going crazy over that Kool and the Gang sample. That was the one that really, really, really played. Like, Roll With Me played a lot.
Played a lot.
But It Gets Crazy.
Yeah.
Bro, that song played. And that's when I realized that. I remember the first time I performed, I didn't perform it. And somebody came up to me and said, why you didn't do that song with the sample? I'm like, I don't like it. I'm like, looked at me like, what's wrong with you? What's this guy talking about? And I think I tried twice, 2 performances, and then they made me get up on stage and go perform that shit.
They called you back on stage?
Yeah, they said, nah, you can't get off stage without... They said, look, we like Roll With Me, but we need to hear that song where you talk about, I hate my boss and I hate my job. I think people connected with the lyrics as well. Yeah. Because nobody really likes their boss. Bosses, they don't like you, just in case you thought they do. Okay? And it really took off. And like, I was like, okay. And then I saw the reaction. Yeah. Like, I remember like the first big gig we did was Togetherness. So 2002. Like Bissau Eating, Manamiti, they did this gig together in 2002. It was December. Yeah. And Mdu was the headliner. But they had like all of the, apart from Mendoza, I think maybe Mendoza was even there, like all of the Kwaito heavyweights of that period were there. And that was my first big performance. I remember when I performed It Gets Crazy there. It really did get crazy. Because like people were like, yeah, this guy's from... Because a lot of people didn't know where I was from. Yeah. A lot of people thought... Some people thought I was from America.
The accent.
So people didn't really know where I was from. And then a lot of people, when they heard that song, they thought it was an international song.
Yeah.
And then when they heard someone talk about Joburg, it's like, wait a minute, why is he talking about Joburg and Santon and da-da-da-da-da-da? And then even in Roll With Me, that line, I put one little line, Botswana Botswana, and it was like, okay.
Yeah.
Because I remember Jabba said that to me. He's like, when we first heard your shit, this was before your album was out, we heard the bootleg. And then we were like, but wait a minute, this guy just said Botswana Botswana. Because I knew Jabba as well, like from 2002, before we both released albums.
Okay.
You know. But yeah, there was a lot of confusion about where I was from.
Okay.
And I think even in South Africa, the Shwashi, or what's that tabloid that they have there?
Shwashi, in the Sowetan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were like, yeah, he's the son of an American tycoon. They made up a mesh. It was just some nonsense. So people just thought I don't know what they thought. But
so you're blowing up, you record your album in South Africa.
Yes.
And a Botswana kid.
Mm-hmm.
And how's the music scene back home in Botswana? And how are they accepting you? Like
okay, I'll tell you. First of all, there was no music scene in South Africa.
Okay.
So there wasn't. When I say no music scene, I mean hip hop. Like there was a hip hop scene, but it was very underground.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't mainstream. So the only people who were rapping at the time, solo artists, there was Proverb, there was Amu, there was Mr. Selvin. Those were probably the three. Then of course you had Mischief.
Yeah, Mischief.
The late.
Yeah.
I'd say there was more of an active hip hop scene in Zim.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In South Africa, like I said, not that there was not a scene. There was, but it was all underground. So none of their artists were really getting spun on radio. Squatter Camp had only done their first album, like the Rao Rao album. And even then, they hadn't, you know, like when they did like Moya, that was like, they hit like they fell into a groove with that.
Yeah.
Because that was like a sound, that was a movement, you know?
Yeah.
The Rao Rao shit was like it was a bit Wu-Tang-ish. You could tell that these are big Wu-Tang fans.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But when they did that Moya album, they were in their bag there. So there was no Back to the City, there were no hip hop festivals. I used to be on festivals I was cool with all the Kwaito. Every single Kwaito guy. Mendoza used to listen to a lot of DMX. You know, I rode around with him, listened to DMX. Brown Dash, my wheelies. Every single person I used to listen to, I met and I was cool with. I went on tour with Alaska.
Okay, that's cool.
Malaika. But yeah, the scene was weird because Botswana people were viewed as how can I say, like they used to call Go Botswana Goma Simon. Like they really didn't think that there was anything further than Mafikeng. And there was nothing coming out of Botswana. So the only person that they knew was Skizo.
Okay.
Yeah. Now Skizo obviously, you know, a legend. But there was no one else really that had come out of Botswana. I think I was probably the second artist to come out of Botswana. Definitely the first rapper.
Okay.
The first rapper to get like an international deal. You know, and I'll tell you why they respected us. Because we came heavy. We had dough.
Botswana kids.
Bro, I was driving to gigs in a 2002 coupe in 2002. None of them guys had cars back then. Like, I'm talking about, I remember when Clio was just in a basic Beamer. You know what I mean? They did not have brand new cars. The only people who had money in the SA industry was Arthur, Mdu, Oskido, and all of the white guys that ran the labels like Cool Spot, and all the managers and all the managers, like, you know, what's that guy who
Botabiso.
No, I'm talking before that, like the Get a Rough manager, the guy Lance.
Yeah.
You see Lance?
Yeah.
Vaughn Eaton, Lance Stir. Them boys have money.
Okay.
The artists didn't have money. And in terms of even just South African artists, like I said, the ones that had money were the bosses, like your Arthur, your Mdu, your Skido. The actual artists themselves, they were not riding big.
Okay.
Like, we were literally pulling up to Joburg with 10-car convoys.
Wow.
With B plates. So that's how we came in. We did this before I dropped my album. We flexed for about a good 6 months. Like every single weekend we were in Joburg. And even when the album dropped, like, because if you look at the timeline, like from 2000 and I bought my first BM in April of 2002. Every single weekend from 2002 to 2004, we were in Joburg. We actually moved to Joburg in September of 2002.
Okay.
So we were there heavy, like the whole of 2002. Mabato, Joburg, Rustenburg. So when you see 10 BMs, you know, all same color, 2-door coupes, drops, M3s, and it's all B plates.
And it's young guys.
Yeah, because we were all like 25, 24, 26. Bissau was like 27, 6, 7, and I'm 2 years younger than him. So I was like 24, 5.
Okay.
You know, we were young. Eating was 27 years old jumping out of a Range Rover. Like, you know what I mean? Like a big Vogue. Yeah. Like he got the first range in the country. I mean, that type of stuff was pissing older dudes off.
Yeah.
Not forget about the young niggas. They didn't have money. We didn't care what they thought. Big men were like, what are these kids doing? There was rumors that we were selling coke. Yeah. Like that was a big rumor that, nah, there's no album. It's been a whole year they talk about this album. This album ain't dropped because we kept talking about this album and it you know, there were just so many delays because it was all independent. That was not done by a record label.
I'm glad you raised that rumor that you guys were going to coke. That rumor is still like spinning around.
You know what they thought? They thought that we were kingpins, and every weekend when we go to Joburg, we're bringing in keys, and all these BMs that we're buying is from cocaine. Because, I mean, I don't blame them because when you think about it, who rolls around with 50 grand in a car? You know what I mean? Or 30, like. And as well, like you say to a chick, hey, could you just pass my shades there in the cabbie hole? And then like wads of money will fall out. So obviously they're gonna tell people, yo, and you know what? I'm surprised we never get robbed. We didn't get robbed once. That's what shocks me. But the coke rumors is funny because these circulated from like parent level. So like I got wind that some older people in town were told that we were like big drug dealers and pushers. They actually put a DIS agent on us. And, you know, they made him look like he was in, you know, just like a guy around town with money and a Beamer to try and infiltrate the clique to find out what we're doing. And Bissau kept saying, this guy is a DIS, I'm telling you. I'm like, man, you're just paranoid. And he's like, this dude is DIS, who is he? Nobody knows him. How can he just pop out of nowhere and just all of a sudden he's in a drop-top Beamer? And he kept trying to ride with us. And Bissau kept saying, nah, nigga, you know, I don't know you. Why you want to ride with us? We don't know who you are. Eventually, he kind of he made his way in through other members, and one day we got him drunk and he confessed. He said, "Yeah, I am." And it turned out this guy was an actual DIS agent, and I said, "Jesus Christ, he's done it again." So yeah, that was funny. But like then they were like, "No, we look," and I've never said this in an interview. I'm not gonna say who it is, but one detective actually called me to his house in 2006. And he goes, he kept seeing me in public and he kept saying, come check me at the office. I'm like, I'm not gonna go see no cop and a detective, are you crazy? So he calls me to his crib. He's like, he saw me at Gabelano 2006, I was performing. Yeah. And he said, yo, since you don't want to come to the office, why don't you come to the crib? Now he's saying this, he's probably standing like 10 meters away. So he's saying it loud. And like, you know, at the stadium, there's like lots of cops and lots of people. Yeah. And they all heard it. And I'm like, why is this guy hotting me up like this? Like, why is he letting everybody know that me and him have got business to discuss? So anyway, I go to his house. And long story short, I went with a guy who I was partnered with at the time. And he said, listen, we've checked you guys out. Because basically we got into property and we're building some property. Yeah. And he said, yeah, people were saying that you guys are big dope dealers and this, that, the other. But, you know, we've checked you out. But I'd just like you to just be careful because some of the guys that you ride with in them Beamers are telling tales about you. So, yeah, I mean, I have my suspicions of who I think it is. But I never really confronted anybody about it, but I know who I think it is. But basically, one of the guys that we were actually with went and said, yeah, these guys are pushing dope. So they checked. They did their investigations. Wow. And they said, nah, we didn't find anything. Wow. But yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So how's the music scene back in Botswana now? Like how's everything
going? It was worse than South Africa.
Who was rapping by then?
Ska.
Okay. So
V and Ska.
Okay. They started before you.
Yeah. We could have signed V. There was a time when I remember because like V one time he really wanted to be down with what we were doing, and in hindsight I said to Bissau, he's your cousin, why don't you sign him? Like you guys are cousins, what's wrong with you? But Bissau was one of the biggest Tupac fans that you'll ever meet in your life. So he's a big hip hop head, and he just wasn't. I think it wouldn't have been a good fit because he didn't really know what to do with V. But obviously he's a phenomenal entrepreneur and grinder. He's a worker.
Okay.
You know, so he was the only person who was. Oh yeah, another fun fact. I did V's dreads.
Oh.
I twisted them up.
Okay.
I got V2 record deals. I'm plugging my contribution. This is my CSR, like my giving back to the community. No, I got him a deal with Goofy and the deal with Universal.
Okay.
But V was the only person who really took it like a business. You know, V what I liked, he didn't drink, he didn't smoke weed. He was just really into making dough. And he had a plan and he stuck to that plan. And you know, as well, to be independent in the music industry and to go from like V started in 99, like V's first album, I think it was the La Malanga album, or it was the Bomba 2D album. That was his first album. I think that was 1999, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Or 2000. But to be in the industry, in any country, to be in the music industry for that long is fucking hard.
Yeah.
Okay? And to be independent, take my hat off to him. Because some people can't even do it with major label deals. He did it independently, you know, and it's a lot of work, you know, that you have to put into it. Like, it's a lot of touring. And when you think about it, it's actually dangerous. It's a dangerous way to make your living. Going from town to town, dealing with fucking drunk people, you know, 2, 3 in the morning, and like all that traveling, and it's not as glamorous as it looks. You know, you're away from your family at the periods when you're supposed to be with them. Christmas, Easter, that's the times when you got to be on the road. So it's funny, you're surrounded by people all the time, but it's very lonely because it's not people that you really know. So I take my hat off to him because he stuck it out. And yeah, Scar released in 2002.
Okay.
And that was it. I think those are the only two people. I mean, obviously you had your Brown Sugar, you had Third Mind, but they're the pioneers. Now Apollo came 2003.
Okay.
Yeah, Apollo's album was 2003. Same year as Oracle, Sex.
Okay.
His was 2003 as well. Mine was 2003, but June.
Okay.
Technically, I recorded in 2002 because I did, but it was released in 2003.
All right.
And then it was picked up by Sony after we did the independent release in South Africa. I never released in Botswana, released in South, and then we got picked up by Sony. We got a national release in 2004, April.
Okay. So, back in Botswana, the music industry is slow.
The only person who was doing it was Eric Ranko. Shout out to Eric.
And for someone who has seen the beginning and currently, what can you say about the development that is taking place in the Botswana hip hop industry? You know,
not sadly, there's a lot of good things, okay? Like, 20 years ago, everybody wanted to be a Kwaito artist. Yeah. And they were all singing in fake Zulu that no one understands, that is only spoken Gozola. And, you know, White City maybe. Like, no one in South Africa speaks that. They don't even speak it in Mabat. But, like, there was no identity. So people were still trying to sound like South Africans. And all of the rappers were trying to sound like Americans. Now, to a degree, now everybody wants to be a rapper, which is cool. And I like the fact that there's more Motswako. You see, like, Drummer Boy couldn't have existed in 2002.
Is it?
No.
Wow.
Not that he couldn't have, but, like, the scene hadn't developed to that level. Like, people were putting Motswako in their raps, like, but it wasn't the same as like now, you know. And I think the good things are that people are like, you got groups like MMP, you got a lot of guys who are bringing their own style. And that's the most important thing. If you're gonna come out in entertainment industry, especially in music, you need to have your own style. You can't sound like your favorite rapper. So what I used to hear a lot of was a lot of Jay-Z wannabes, a lot of Tupac wannabes, a lot of Wu-Tang wannabes, and you know, even look, Americans don't want to hear Africans that sound like Americans. They have African Americans in America. If you have orange juice, you do not need orange squash. So they were making orange squash hip hop, like Oros. You know what I mean? And they had like freshly squeezed orange juice, like the pure shit from the streets of New York or the streets of LA or wherever it was. And if you listen to West Coast hip hop and East Coast hip hop, it's different. They talk about the same shit, but it's different. The slang is different. The accents are different. So why am I now gonna listen to a guy who doesn't have a visa, has never been to America, and he's rapping like an American, sounds like an American? It just sounds corny. And this is why the Nigerians bust before the fake the fake American wannabe rappers. Because the Nigerians sound like Nigerians. They come in with their own identity. They're not changing the pidgin to, you know what I'm saying, they're like, you know, they're speaking in their own, you know, accents, their own, putting their own words in there. And that's what, to me, that's what hip hop is about. You learn about different cultures through hip hop.
Right.
So what are you teaching people if you're trying to sound like an American? You know, you're in the middle of Botswana, it's hot, you've got Timbs on, it's fucking hot, man. We wearing Timbs in this hot country for. You got a big, nah, chill out. So there was too much of that, but there's less of it now, and that's good.
All right. In other words, you're saying that it has developed, has grown, but there's one thing which is concerning. Local rappers are not cashing in. Like next door in South Africa, with rappers who are millionaires, filling up stadiums. What's like in this set? We can't even, as a rapper, can't even sell like 10,000 copies.
You know, it's sad. It's like, we were lucky. We printed and Sony bought our stuff when we got the nationwide deal. But yes, it's, you know, it took a while. I mean, look, even in the South African scene, I was at Creative Kingdom. AKA's first group was called Entity.
Yeah.
They were signed to Creative Kingdom. So he came in like a little bit after me. But even to get to the level that they got to, it took him 10 years of doing shows for very little money and not very much. He had to actually build it. And I think the problem, to answer your question, nobody has really bought local rap.
Yeah.
Like you have people who are here who've been rapping for a long time, but people don't really buy the music. Like they'll buy Franco, they'll buy V, they'll buy Chama, they'll buy gospel. Yeah. But I think as well, they just haven't, you know, and I always say, you can't really say people are not supporting you if you're putting out bullshit. You have to put out music that people want to listen to. You know, they'll say, oh, Botswana, they don't buy records. They do, but they're just not buying your record. If you put out something that represents the country or represents you, I think people will buy it. And I think that's just the main thing. Like, too many people spent too long trying to sound like something else, you know, and not sound like. I guess it's this whole, anything that is local is seen as inferior, and anything that is from outside is seen as superior. And that's just a general thing across the board in Botswana. It's not just in the music industry. You know, even when people say things like, I mean, like, that's like, why would you say that? That's like self-hate. Like, basically, you're using the word Setswana to mean it's not sophisticated. Like, Murua Setswana. Oh, when you know Setswana, did you say this Setswana? It's like food which is not fancy is like, you know what I mean? Yeah. And if you keep using terminology like that, you're gonna create like an inferiority complex for yourself. And I think that's what it is. There is a kind of feeling that anything that's locally produced is substandard, you know. Okay. So yeah, that's why they will, and I think that's part of the reason why they would rather listen to South African rappers, even if they rap in Setswana. You know, they don't really buy that local rappers.
Okay, so I'm glad that you're talking about this. So some think that the media is the enemy in this case, the local media. What's your take?
The media doesn't help. Look, I think as well, and I know a lot of rappers are not gonna like this, but a lot of people in this country are entitled, and they're fucking lazy. Like, imagine a rapper talking about the government. Imagine if American rappers were relying on the government for hip hop. There would have been no fucking hip hop. Botswana rappers will talk about, they expect handouts. Like everybody wants a fucking handout. Go out there and grind. Like before V got endorsement deals and whatever deals that he was doing with the government, and even afterwards, that guy used to be in the streets, like literally at the station selling cassettes. talking to people in the blazing sun, dancing and doing whatever he was doing. But, you know, he didn't just jump up, you know, onto a pile of money and land on a pile of money. The guy actually worked. Now, this is the thing that people don't want to do, especially rappers. They feel that they're too cool to do that. You know what I mean? And like, kind of like, well, yeah, you know what I'm saying? We don't do that here, you know what I'm saying? And then it's like, nigga, you've got no money. There's 4 of you sharing 1 bag of weed in a court. Nah, man. Go out there and grind. That is the problem. There's no work ethic. You know, people expect everything to be given to them. They want tenders, they want grants, they want this, they want that. Nobody wants to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to put my own money down. Like, Bissau put $250 down for my video.
250,000 rands.
Yes. In 2003. That's $20,000 at the time. Okay?
Wow.
My budget for the helicopter, we spent 50,000 rand on the chopper. That was more than what people's videos cost. He paid about the whole project was about $500,000.
And you guys shut down the Mandela Bridge.
Yes. Bro, the whole project. Now imagine, in 2003, or 2002, that's when we did the recording. That cost about almost 200 grand. Okay? And then 2003, we did the video, which was more than 200 grand. Now, he put almost $500,000 of his own cash. Not money that we got from a record label. Now, what does that tell you? What do you think that did to me? You know, I was like, shit, this nigga dropping dough like this? I better do something this. You know what I mean? And now here I am, 20 years later, I can still get interviews based on something I did 4 minutes of my time in 2002. I'm here 20 years later. So basically the point I'm trying to make is he put money behind me. It wasn't just talk. A lot of people just talk, man. Oh yeah, Sky can lay that on him. We support him. You don't buy his shit. All you do is like pictures on Facebook. And you know, when you see him, you want to take selfies. You people don't support. You know, like Davido did something on Twitter. He put out a tweet and he said, if I've ever made you dance, or if my music has ever made you feel good, give me some dough. You know, this guy raised, I think it was something like $300,000. Just people saying, Davido, you know what? And these are people who've been to his concert, bought his music. Just giving him dough. He put a bank account. They gave him money. Try that in Botswana. You might get empty beer bottles. You ain't gonna get no one giving you no money. And he actually took that money and gave it to a charity. But I'm just showing you the example. Like, when you talk about supporting your artist, it's not we support him talking. You need to put money down. So if you do that, like for me, the reason why I mentioned how much Bissau put down is because that instilled a lot of confidence in me. That there was a person who believed in me so much that they would take money. He could have bought a Range Rover X5 with that dough. You know, could have bought a house with that dough. But he believed in me so much that he actually put that money. He said, I'm putting this behind you. So that did wonders for my confidence. I'm a confident guy anyway. But I was like, you know what? I can't even rap, but I'm gonna shut this shit down. And
and you shut it down.
That's how you do it. You gotta put money in there.
So the music is banging. That was around 2003, 2004. Around 2005, you just disappear.
You know why? The music industry is a very dark place.
Is it?
So I wouldn't say I was struggling with depression, but everybody's got issues. So I kind of thought that when I got money, everybody thinks that when they get money, whatever issues that they had are gonna disappear, or the problems will disappear, and they don't. It's funny because like you don't understand more money, more problems till you get money. Money really does give you more problems, man. I'm telling you. And everybody who's broke's thinking, I want those problems. You fucking don't. Because if you have, put it like this: if you have any internal issues about anything, money's just gonna amplify it. If you're an asshole, you're just gonna be an asshole with money. If you're a nice person, you'll just be, you'll still be nice. But money, when they say, oh, money, no, I'm not gonna change. You've never had money, bro. Anybody who thinks that money won't change them has never had enough money. Money changes everything. It changes the people around you. It gives you options. When you have money, you don't have to. Some people don't realize that the people that they rock with every day, they're only your friends because you're broke together. They're your friend because you have the car, or maybe they're your friend because you're the one paying the bill. They're not really your friends. Poverty is what's binding you together. If you both have money and you're still hanging, that's true friendship. Because if I have my own car and you got your own car and we're in the same spot, that means I want to be around you.
Yeah.
If I'm in your car, I'm just fucking riding in your car because you got a whip. I may be just in your pocket because you're paying the bill. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when you have dough, like I say, you don't know a person till you fought them, fucked them, or till you've seen how they behave with money.
Yeah.
If you've never seen a person rich, then you really don't know that person. Money will change everything. I'm telling you.
Bars. Yeah. So where did you disappear to, bro?
So I was telling you. So the dark place.
Yeah.
So basically, I just I think I was a little bit burnt out because, look, you go from being I've always been known. You know, I was not famous, but I was known even from when I was young.
Okay.
Everybody kind of knew me, you know, and you know, I was used to that. But fame is a bit different, and you know, it's like, I don't know, it's weird, and like you even adjusting to fame is a bit weird, and then just that period of like going through, because you know I moved to Joburg, so obviously you move to Joburg, you have new friends, new circles, new everything, and I don't know, I just felt like I was going through a bit of a depression.
Okay.
And as you do most of the time when you're going through a dark period, you have to go home. So in my case, I went back to where it all kind of started, which is London.
Okay.
You know, I kind of had to chill out. I was drinking too much. I mean, it was a very excessive lifestyle. And you know, the problem with the entertainment industry is that let's say you do 3 gigs in a day, because at my peak I was doing like 3 gigs a day, sometimes 9-10 gigs in a weekend.
Okay.
Now every single promoter has got a bottle of Jack Daniels for you,
Yeah.
or a bottle of this, or a bottle of Henny, or a bottle of whatever. So by the time you get to Thursday before the weekend, bro, you're smashed.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of drink, a lot of drugs, and you know that stuff just kind of it wears you out. And then when you chill with people, it's weird. Like everybody does drugs, bro. Like when I say everybody, I don't mean literally, but I mean like every single type of person you could think of. I've sat in rooms and been around police, lawyers, judges, you know, MPs, and I'm talking about. I'm not even gonna say which country, but I've lived in the UK, I've lived in America, I've lived in Botswana and South Africa. And I'm talking about, in all of those countries, I've witnessed.
Yeah.
And you'd be shocked, like the type of people that you see, CEOs that you've seen in the papers, like the day before, giving speeches on this, that, the other, talking about, you know, don't do drugs, fucking hoovering, you know, all different types of things. And the type of things that I was seeing as well were, you know, it was a bit, how can I put it? It was dark. Like a lot of stuff, like there's a lot of like the whole Me Too movement has uncovered that. There was a lot of, I wouldn't say sexual violation, but a lot of coercion and manipulation of men and women, by men and women. So there's a lot of older men preying on younger girls, older men preying on younger boys. Just a lot of weird shit, man. And I was like, you know, I don't know. And plus, I got into the music, you know, like Scar, Apollo, they were like 18 when they dropped. Yeah. But when I recorded my shit, I was 26. Yeah. So when I actually became famous, I was 27, 28. I was almost 30. Yeah. So I was like, yo, this is not where I want to be forever. You know what I mean? Yeah. And my son was like 6 years old at the time, 5, 6. So I said, you know what? This is not something I can do forever. So that's why in 2006, that's when I got into property. So 2005, I went back to England. Kind of had to reassess, like, what do you want to do? Do you want to drop in? So I had to ask myself, do I want to continue in this music industry and battle these demons? Or do I want to basically do something else? And when I went to uni, I did politics and economics, but my plan was to be a merchant banker. Okay. And I always wanted to, I've always just wanted to own property. So I was like, you know what? I've saved a little bit of dough. I've got some investment. Yeah, so I was like, okay, let me just get into property. Yeah. So again, I actually recorded an album that year. Okay. 2006.
In England?
No, I started recording in England, but I finished it in South Africa.
Okay.
At Jazzworks. So I did record an album, but we never released it.
Okay. Still shelved.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I put some singles on radio, but yeah, I have the album. I actually just got the masters sent over from England like yesterday at DHL them. We may even actually what we're gonna do, because a lot of people used to say to me, why don't you re-release Staggalicious EP? And what I want to do is I want to get the master. I'm gonna get the master and get the original 12 tracks and re-release it like on the next year on the anniversary.
Okay.
And then drop it with videos, all new videos for all the tracks. Even drop it with some NFTs because I'm heavy into like blockchain and crypto and NFTs and stuff now. So I wanted to actually drop an NFT collection.
Okay. Talking of crypto and all, like just tell us about it. Like it's something that you're always talking about
On
social media. And just tell us about it.
Cryptocurrency is basically decentralized finance. So if you think of the bank as the banking system as centralized finance, crypto is decentralized.
Yeah.
So there's no boss. There's no. It's basically the blockchain is basically a network of computers.
Yeah.
Oh no, sorry, computer networks. Yeah. And the reason why I mess with crypto is because how I got into it, I was looking. I read a lot, and I read a lot about a lot of different things. So being that my background is economics, I've always been interested in what would be an alternative for the dollar as the world reserve currency, because as we know, the greenback is the main. I mean, it is the world reserve currency now, mainly because of the petrodollar deal from 1974, where Saudi Arabia agreed to sell all their oil in dollars, and then all the OPEC countries followed suit. I mean, cocoa from Ghana, diamonds from Botswana, everything's sold in dollars. Why? All that's going to do is prop the dollar up. What about CDs from Ghana? What about the Bula in Botswana? Why are we not selling these things in our own currency?
Yeah.
But so I was doing some work and research, and then they were like, yeah, the next world reserve currency will not be fiat. So it's not going to be paper money. It will be digital. And I was like, yeah, that actually makes sense. Because if we're moving into the fourth industrial revolution and everything's becoming digitized like it is, and cash is literally disappearing from circulation to the point where a lot of places don't even accept cash, that actually makes a lot of sense. So that's how I got into cryptocurrency. And then I started learning about it. Because I had heard about Bitcoin, but I just used to think it was for people who wanted to buy drugs or guns on the internet. So I'm like, I don't want to buy no coke online. So I just didn't. I ignored it. And then this was like around 2016. I was actually doing a trading course in the city in London, just near Bank of England. And I was actually learning how to trade with a pretty good mentor. And yeah, I asked him about Bitcoin. He said, nah, it's too volatile. Don't forget about that. So I got into it after that. I did my own research and I started buying a coin called XRP, which is probably what I have the most of. But I also hold Stellar, XLM. I hold some Bitcoin, of course. I hold a lot of Shiba Inu. And the main reason why I buy crypto is because if you put $1,000 in the bank, you'd be lucky to get 10 at the end of the year. Now, if you put $1,000 into Bitcoin, obviously the price can go down, but you can. From my initial investment in all of crypto was about a couple $1,000.
Okay. US dollars.
Yeah. Okay. Now I've 10x that, and I couldn't do that in a bank. Okay. If I put $2,000 in the bank, it would just be $2,000. Yeah. Maybe 2001. Yeah. But I put it into crypto and I managed to actually flip it, and that was within a very short period of time. So I started to learn about it, about what you can do with it, and essentially, I'm kind of currently using it as a store of value because I'm not trading. I'm not like a trader. I don't sit there and trade all day. Some people do. I'm just a passive investor, so I buy and I hold. Okay. So I'm buying, like I bought XRP at 11 cents. The highest it went to was $1.98. Okay. So you can do the maths on that. If I'd spent $1,000 and it goes up to $2, and I'm buying the coins at 10 cents each, and now they're worth $2 each.
So
it's a good return.
Yeah. So what can you advise like local kids like Botswana, because we're still scared of like Bitcoin,
I know.
cryptocurrency.
What I would say to them is that, you see, even with forex trading, forex scammers are scammers, but banks trade forex every single day. When you go to South Africa, what are you doing? You're trading forex.
Yeah.
You're trading your bulas for rands.
Yeah.
That's forex trading.
Yeah.
It's not the same as sitting there on a computer and actually trading, like using, support and resistance and indicators and stuff. But I would advise Botswana to be financially literate, because they are not. And I think if you miss out on what is happening right now with cryptocurrency, we're in the biggest transfer of wealth in our lifetime. More millionaires have been made from Bitcoin than I think probably, I don't even know what, but and when you think about it as well, compared to the internet, there are about 130 million users of cryptocurrency in the world. That was the internet in 1998. So if only 4% of the world are using cryptocurrency, this is a great time to learn about what it is, because I'm telling you, the world is not moving backwards, it's moving forwards.
It's moving forward. Yeah.
As you can see, cryptocurrency is being regulated. Do you know that 80% of central banks in the world are developing a central bank digital currency? 80%, including Bank of Botswana. Go on the Bank of Botswana website and look for yourself. See what's happening. Because we missed out on the dot-com boom of the early 2000s. I don't know anybody who invested in Google or Facebook or any of those companies.
Yeah.
But you can invest in Bitcoin now, and it's not too late. You can invest in many cryptocurrencies. But I would advise you to go on a site like CoinMarketCap and just look at the top 10 coins. There's about 14,000 different crypto coins, and most of them you'll lose all of your money because they just don't have, there's not enough liquidity in them. But in something like Bitcoin, like I said, again, the price can go up and down. But you can buy Bitcoin today for 30,000. It could be 48,000 tomorrow or 50,000 tomorrow. So you need to understand how that happens. Understand what price action is. Understand the basics. What is the blockchain? What are stable coins? What are altcoins? What are meme coins? You need to understand those basics. And if you can understand that, and then just put away. I put money into crypto as a pension.
Okay.
So I don't even touch it. I just think of it as money that I'm gonna make in the future. Even NFTs. I have NFTs that I bought that were worth nothing. Some of them are worth quite a lot now. Yeah. So and the first NFT I bought was last November, and it was the Death Row collection. Oh. Yeah, like Death Row did a collection with the website crypto.com. And even them, the Staples Center in LA used to be the Staples Center. It's now called the Crypto.com Center. They did a $700 million 10-year deal. Now that should tell you something. If they're gonna spend $700 million on branding, that type of branding, that should tell you the direction of where the world is going. So Death Row did a collection of Death Row. Those are the first two NFTs I bought. They were Death Row ones, and I still hold them now. But yeah, I've always been into finance. Okay. I've always been into all things financial. I read the financial papers. I read Financial Times. Sometimes I just read economics books.
All right. As someone who comes from a economic and financial background.
Yeah, but like me personally.
Okay. All right. We're left with a minute.
Okay.
Yeah. So also recently you started you shooting documentaries.
Yeah.
Shooting a Nijel Amos documentary.
That's it.
And you're rolling with Hollywood people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm doing the Nijel Amos documentary. My partner and fellow producer is a guy called Carlos Pimentel. For all you Beatnuts fans, that do-do-do-do-do. Yeah. Do-do-do-do-do. If you look on the back of that CD, Musical Massacre by the Beatnuts, he's the executive producer, Carlos Alberto Pimentel. So he's a entertainment lawyer from the States, originally from Dominican Republic, but grew up in Harlem. He was at Loud Records, Wu-Tang, Mobb Deep. Yeah. Who else was on Loud? Dead Prez, they were on Loud. So he was in the legal department there. He was DJ Khaled's first lawyer. He was also the first president of Terror Squad Records when Fat Joe formed Terror Squad. So, he's got a very deep background in the music industry. Then he also did sports. He had a sports agency called Invictus. And then he also did Hollywood stuff like documentaries, films and series and stuff like that. So yeah, and it's funny because I met him through, my dad is an artist. So he does like modern art. and all of his friends are like hippies from the 70s and shit. And funky type dudes, you know, like they're all like musicians, actors, photographers, very creative. And like he was also a DJ as well.
Yeah.
There's a club in London called Ronnie Scott's. He was a DJ there. So my dad has a friend who just actually passed away, like about 2 weeks ago. Rest in peace, brother A. He's called Raouf Adu. He's Ghanaian. And he was he had a couple of hits in the mid 80s. So he was friends with my dad, and he was managed by a guy called Chris. So Chris and Carlos used to manage a band from England called 12 Dirty Bullets. And he kept saying, like every time I'd see him, he'd be like, Don Dada, because he used to call me, that's how he used to say it. You need to meet this guy called Carlos. He's great. You and him would get along. And he kept saying that. He said for years he'd say that to me. And then one day he's like, oh, Carlos is coming to London. I'll give you his contacts. So Carlos came, and he was right. You know, we clicked instantly. And this is around 2009 or 10. So when he was like telling me, like he was like, yeah, you heard of the Beat Nuts? And I'm like, so I have like every single, the first time I met this guy, he's telling me about all of the stuff he'd done in the industry. Like no word of a lie. Every single album that he was talking about, I had the vinyls because I used to DJ. So when I was at university. And he's talking, I'm like, okay, just acting cool. I'm like, shit, this nigga's really deep in this shit. You know what I mean? Like, so he has a very extensive, and he was there in the 90s when it was grimy. You know what I mean? Like all throughout the 90s, the early 2000s. And you know, he introduced me to guys like Chris Lighty, like R.I.P., like the guy who used to manage 50 Cent. 50 Cent's first big manager, Busta Rhymes. I was emailing Chris Lighty in 2010 for a Busta Rhymes gig. I tried to bring Busta to here.
Botswana.
Yeah, I talked to some guys at KBL, and you know how it goes. They just like, I don't think they believed that I could get it. I was like, bro, like, look, this is Chris Lighty, violated management. But yeah, Carlos was the link. And even in 2013, I was gonna bring Tiger to Botswana. Again, Carlos was the link. He hooked me up with his dude Quinton. He was like, who do you want? I can give you MMG or Young Money. And at the time, Wayne was like 250. I said, nah, we don't have pockets that deep. But they were gonna give me Tiger for 60K. So yeah, like, you know, he was helping me make moves like that, like getting in touch with real heavyweight people in the game. Because he's a lawyer and he's black, and most of the lawyers in the entertainment industry are white. So part of the reason why a lot of people liked him is because he was a black guy and he understood the culture. You know, he wasn't just there making money from it. He understood it, grew up in it. So yeah, linked up with him, and then I got another friend called Tato, who was at the Sports Council. And he is a guy he's actually the first person to tell me about Nijel. Like I didn't really know. I knew what everybody else knew. He won an Olympic medal, you know, but I had never met him. Didn't really know much about him apart from what was written in the media. And yeah, he said to me, he said, look, this guy is like an amazing human being. Like he's very humble, humility. That's all I kept hearing. And then eventually I said, I think it was in 2018 or 19, I said to him, we need to make a documentary about this guy. You know, like, how come nobody's telling his story? Because you see, being from England and growing up in England in the 80s and all that, I know Sebastian Coe. Now, Nijel is one of 3 people in the world that have run 1 minute 41 seconds. And I think people in Botswana don't really understand what that means. You know, and like, this is why there's no Nigel Amos statue. There's no Nigel Amos billboard. There's not even a dusty track named after Nigel Amos. And I think it's actually embarrassing that, you know, a kid who literally came from nothing and gave the country their first medal is not recognized in his own country. I mean, I think it's shameful. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna make a documentary. And I never made a documentary ever before in my life, but I know that Carlos has, and he knows about the film industry. And I was like, you know what? I know people who can direct. So I called up my friend Suge, who he shot my album cover. And, you know, me and Shige known each other since we were 12 years old. So, you know, I have 100% faith in him. And, you know, we started on the journey. And we actually started it when Carlos and I were invited to Botswana in 2019 to a film festival.
Yeah.
And it's funny because he was like, "You're never gonna guess what I just got." And he said, "What?" He said, "I got an email that says we want you to come to Botswana." And I started laughing. I was like, "What?" This is like 10 years after me knowing this guy. Yeah. He's invited to Botswana, and he said, "Guess what I told him?" And he said, "What?" Is I told him, "I'm not coming unless you get my boy Ralph there too. I ain't coming. I ain't gonna do it. And then he was like, I told him, I said, "Yo, what's up? You gave my boy a ticket?" Fucking next thing you know, I get a ticket in the mail. Like, "Hey, Mr. Ralph Williams." They probably thought I was an old white guy.
Yeah.
With like gray hair.
Yeah.
And then when I got here, he was like, "Oh, Stagga, can do it." And I just laughed. But it was cool. So we come for the thingy, and we had been talking about doing it before, and then we started like December of 2019. We shot the first scene. Shike shot the first part of it at the stadium, and then obviously COVID happened, which kind of ruined everything. But we still shot. We shot. So far, we shot in Marobella.
The Olympics.
No, we did. Well, this is where it got tricky. So we shot the first. I think the first shoot was stadium. Then we did a shoot in Botswana. Then we did Oregon because he runs for Nike. Then we did Monaco because we couldn't do Japan because obviously COVID was crazy at that time, and they said no foreigners, no locals, no not even media. So we were literally going to be in Japan just in the hotel. We weren't even going to have access to the Olympic Village. So we were like, you know what? The last race that he's got before Japan is Monaco, and he had told Carlos, he said, "Listen, I love Monaco because I've never lost a race there ever. Yeah. That's my favorite place to run." He goes, "There's something about the energy, bro. We got there, man. I mean, I've been to Dubai. Yeah, and Dubai's nice. Monaco is just a different level. It's a different flex. Yeah, it's crazy. You know, like marble floors and chandeliers in the shopping malls. It's like you think you're in someone's mansion. I swear to God, you're walking around the streets. You look like you're in the grounds of like some ballersy house, like the public parks. It's just some amazing shit. Okay. So that was great, and we shot there, and yeah, we've had a shoot in Italy, we've had a shoot in LA, we've had a lot of shoots, and you know we're doing this on our own. We have no backers, no investors. It's all coming out of mine and Carlos' pocket. Okay. So does this mean that Stagga is now into the film industry? Yeah. Okay. I'm a filmmaker now. So it's funny, I didn't think about it like that, but I guess it does actually mean that. So there's more content that we should expect from you. Oh, you know what's funny? The first documentary I wanted to shoot was Dan Chanda. Oh yeah. Peacock Splash. A friend of mine who I went to school with introduced me to Dan because he's married to her aunt. Well, he was R.I.P. Yeah. And yeah, man, I met him and she said, "Hey, look, Dan's gonna be in town. You know, you can meet him and tell him about what you want to do." So he's like, "Why you want to make a documentary about me?" He said, "No one's ever said that to me." I said, "You serious?" He said, "Yeah." This is 2016. He came to my office in Fairgrounds. Yeah. And I said, "You know why I want to make a documentary about you?" He said, "Why?" I said, "Because I want to know what type of like, you know, like boldness and what type of nuts do you have to be able to, in the mid-80s, sit across the table for some white music executives in Joburg when you couldn't even sit in certain restaurants in certain parts of the place and tell them, these are my masters, this is my shit, and actually keep this shit." I said, "Tell me about that conversation." So he starts to laugh. I said, "No, I'm serious. I want to learn that type of kung fu. Like, how did you do that?" And he goes, "Bro, it wasn't easy." And he started to tell me, like, you know, how he was self-taught as a musician, how he learned the business on his own. And I was like blown away because, bro, to own your masters today is amazing. To do that in the 80s during apartheid. Yeah. My bro, that's like, I said, just that alone, I want to make a movie about you. Yeah. And he was really impressed. And then unfortunately, he passed before we could do that. But, you know, I'm still in touch with my friend who's obviously in touch with his widow, and we are going to make something happen. Yeah, definitely. Because that's still content. Bro. That's still content. And these are stories that have to be told. Yeah. Like, you know, especially kids today who talk about the music industry, like what I was saying earlier, that everybody wants grants and handouts. Yeah. Dan did everything on his own. Like, I met a white guy called Nick, who used to run the Lion Lager roadshow. It was like back in the day in the 80s, it was a bit like the Black Label tours and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was like a road show. He said, I've never seen anybody as organized as Dan Chanda. He says sometimes there'd be like 7 keyboards on stage.
Yeah.
And he says it was like the military. Like his whole squad was run like almost like the army. And he controlled everything. Now, only a smart, organized, disciplined person can do something like that.
Yeah.
So I want to be around smart, organized, disciplined people. So I was like, nah, I can learn a lot from him.
Yeah. So if you're talking about 7 keyboards on the stage, I once had a conversation with him. That was some years ago.
With who?
With Dan.
Okay.
Dan Chanda, yeah. So I was asking him, like, well, what's Splash? Can you explain Splash? He's like, this is music which is just made using a keyboard.
Yeah.
No other instrument is involved. Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And that's true. You know, when you think about that, I didn't even notice that it was just keyboards.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And he came up with this concept after he had left Soul Brothers. He was part of Soul Brothers.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So going forward, how come like we don't have like such stories being told in Botswana? Like we don't tell stories through the lens.
You know, this is another thing. I think I've always wanted to reach people.
Yeah.
Touch people. So I thought that when I kind of realized that, okay, I can make a song which is half decent, then I thought maybe that's where I should really do it, you know?
Yeah.
But then, like I said to you, at my point in my life, I was still married. You know, obviously the relationship did not survive the pressures of the music industry.
Yeah.
And I was a father. And it was very difficult to juggle all of those things.
Yeah.
Being famous, being faithful, being married, being a hot nigga.
Yeah.
Like, because you're hot, you're popping. Everybody wants a piece of you. So I just kind of felt that, you know what, the music industry is just a bit too much. So I think now I've kind of started to feel as if maybe film is where I'll be able to tell more stories, because I like storytelling in music as well. But like, there's no better way to tell a story than with a lens.
With the lens.
And I think that especially the story of, you know, like for example, the contribution that Botswana has made to music in Southern Africa, it's often overlooked.
Yeah.
You know, like people like John Silolwane, who,
Eish.
you know, I mean, I know John Silolwane's kids, and
Yeah.
I know his son, I know his daughter, and like, you know, he's a guy who played with Paul Simon, bro.
Even with Marvin Gaye.
I know.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's like big stuff. And like, even the group, what's it called?
Kalahari.
Yes.
Yeah. With
you.
Yeah.
I mean, these are big moves.
Yeah.
And like, people like Schizo, like, you know, him producing Strawberry Gum Gum, which eventually became Mahasman, you know, even that, you can arguably say that Schizo's one of the architects and pioneers in Kwaito. Because no one could do a bass line better than Ski. Even Goofy's told me, man, he says, this nigga is the deadliest. He says, Goofy's deadly with bass lines, but he always used to say to me, Schizo's deadly.